Hello friends, welcome to Wisdom Trainings, and in this video we'll be talking about the course overview. So what all we are offering in the Hadoop developer course. So I'll take you through a document, right? So what all offerings are there, what all topics that we're gonna cover here. Alright, so I'm gonna take you the very first training video one that you'll be seeing in your Java modules, and that is Java Essentials. So we talked about Java, what is JRE and JDK, what is the JVM, how does that work, installation of Java and Eclipse IDE, data types in Java, variables, operators and its types. Then we also talked about the OOPS concept. We've already covered classes and objects, methods, constructors, arrays, this keyword, okay, control flow statements, if else, switch, for loop, and all the loops, okay, modifiers, concept of static and non-static packages. If we talk about the OOPS concept part 2, which is a training video 3 here, you will find inheritance, concept of polymorphism, abstract classes and interfaces. You'll also see the string tokenizer and buffer reader, which is very helpful when you're writing a MapReduce program. So string tokenizer and buffer reader. Buffer reader is used to read a file, and a string tokenizer can convert a string into tokens. Okay. Then we talked about different collections, list, set, map, array list, hash set, right? Okay, coming to Hadoop part, meet Hadoop. Okay, so this is a classification of data, what data actually is, what is big data, right? So detailed description about structured data, sources of structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, and their sources, right? Then we have definition of big data, what actually a big data means. So the concept of 3 V's, that is variety, volume, and velocity, and extracting business value from data. Characteristics of big data, real big examples where are the big data analytics is getting really big, and it is helping companies make fortunes to their company, bring fortunes to the company, and enhance user value as well as performances of their own companies. Okay, so they can extract a business value out of that using the big data analytics. So importance of big data analytics. We also talked about distributed file system and why do we need it. Okay, you'll find that in the course. So what Hadoop is, brief history, how that Hadoop started, what all are the characteristics of Hadoop, and what is the difference between a relational DBMS and the already existing DBMS and Hadoop. Okay, that is RDBMS, relational database management system, and Hadoop, what grid computing is, and grid computing versus Hadoop, why do we need Hadoop. So all this is covered in the training video 5, right? And then you have training video 6, which will be describing the Hadoop architecture. Okay, so you'll find the Hadoop architecture, detailed description of Hadoop ecosystem, what all frameworks are available in Hadoop that you can you can use to analyze the big data. Okay, you have detailed description of Hadoop ecosystem, what all components are available in Hadoop ecosystem, introduction of different components of Hadoop, HIVE, PIG, SQOOP, FLUME, HBase, etc. So what are the core components of HDFS or Hadoop, that is HDFS and MapReduce, detailed description of HDFS, Hadoop nomenclature, what all daemons are present in HDFS, and all these. Okay, so how do a file is written and how do a file is read from HDFS. Concept of rack awareness, very important concept in Hadoop, that is a rack awareness concept. Okay, then you have you'll see in Hadoop architecture part 2, how to process the data with Hadoop, introduction to MapReduce, what all languages can be used to write a MapReduce application, what all are the daemons for your MapReduce, what is job tracker, task tracker, interaction between both of them, and how do MapReduce works, and Hadoop versions are there, what all the limitations of Hadoop 1.0 which are covered in Hadoop 2.0. Okay, features of HDFS 2, HDFS federation is an important concept that is available. Okay, HDFS federation, what are active and passive name nodes and the interaction, what is yarn, its functionality, yarn daemons, that is resource manager, node manager, and application master is detailed in it is explained in detailed. Okay, environment setup, we have talked about operational modes of Hadoop, standalone, pseudo distributed, fully distributed mode, and installation of Cloudera VM. So here we will be doing all the stuff using the Cloudera virtual machine, and description of different configuration files you will see in the training video 8. Okay, and then you have your training video HDFS, for how do you browse the HDFS, what all are the commands and operations, listing all the Hadoop file system commands. If you want to check the version of Hadoop, how do you do that, how to run a jar file in Hadoop, making a directory, creating a file, listing files and directory. It is similar to one that is in the Linux. Okay, so HDFS is a Linux based. Fine, so you will get to know, or you have explained it clearly about the Linux and HDFS. So checking the file size, reading the contents of a file, how do you read the contents of a file, and copying a file from local file system to HDFS and vice versa, that is from HDFS to the local file system. Then you have put and get commands, removing a file from HDFS and removing a directory from HDFS. So these are few of the commands that are available that you can check. Okay, so there are other things that are mentioned there, how to change the ownership of a file, and what all are the permissions that you are required. Okay, so we talked about permissions as well. MapReduce programming part 1, introduction to MapReduce, high level view of programming or MapReduce processing. Issues in MRV1, therefore there was a need of MRV2, that is yarn. Okay, detailed description of resource manager, node manager, execution flow of an yarn application. Then you have life cycle of a job, MapReduce job history server, input and output of the MapReduce job, what are input splits, very important concept about in the Hadoop, which is called as input split. Relationship between the input split and HDFS blocks. So size of HDFS blocks we have talked about. And if we talk about MapReduce programming part 2, what is a map task, detailed explanation of mapper, what is a reduce task, and what is a detailed explanation of reducer, what all are the writable classes, how do we provide data to the mapper, and how data is read by the mapper. You have different format classes, input format classes and output format classes. You have file input format classes and its types. Step-by-step understanding of the MapReduce program using the word count example. We'll see this in this module. And MapReduce job, combiners in MapReduce, an important concept. Okay, partitioners in MapReduce, detailed working of partitioners and job configurations. Okay, and hands-on session, we have talked about writing a word count program, processing customer complaints info using a combiner. Alright, so this is a use case hands-on session. Now another use case of partitioner, segregating patient data based on some conditions using the partitioner. So we'll segregate the data based on some condition. For example, if a age group falls from 10 to 20 and from 20 to 30 and 30 and above, so this kind of segregating the patient data based on the partitioners. Alright, so in the advanced MapReduce, we have touched based up on custom data types and common rules for creating custom data types. Sometimes there are data types that are not suffice for our requirements, so we can create our own data types that are called as custom data types. Okay, and we have seen the use case, that is processing online music data using the custom data types. Alright, and if we talk about the advanced MapReduce part 2, so we have spoken and we have discussed about what are counters and built-in counters. So what all counters are available in MapReduce, and you can have your built-in counters as well. So if you want some other counters, that is you want the counters based on your requirements, so you can have your user-defined counters. We have seen different use cases for counters. So there are two use cases that we have discussed: processing weblog entries using counters and processing the customer complaint data using counters. Talking about advanced MapReduce part 3, we've discussed about distributed cache and how do we set up a cache for a job, and processing the news data using distributed cache. Okay, alright, and now if we talk about advanced MapReduce part 4, then you have joining data in MapReduce. So what are map joins, how the data is joined at the map side, and use case was joining enterprise datasets. And another one, if we talk about advanced MapReduce part 5, which is the reduce joins part. So we've seen how to join the data when on the reduce side, and we have seen that joining the customer transaction datasets. Okay, so you have a transaction dataset and you have a customer dataset. Will be joining on basis of a common field. Okay, that we have covered in our advanced MapReduce part 5. If we talk about advanced MapReduce part 6, we discussed about sequence file, an important concept in MapReduce programming, format of sequence files, structure of sequence file with and without record compression and with and without block compression, file header, sequence file header, how do we write a sequence file, how do we read that sequence file, and reading and writing a sequence file, and image processing, very important, image processing using a sequence file. Okay, but talking about PIG. Okay, so why do we need PIG when we have MapReduce, right? So what is PIG, where to use PIG, what is the anatomy of PIG, PIG on Hadoop, and basic program structure in PIG, what all are the data models, execution modes of PIG, relational operators in PIG Latin, loading and storing the data in PIG, filtering in PIG joins, sorting of data using PIG, right? And for each operator, group operator, there are different operators that we have talked about. There's a already available piggy bank available, so which you can use, which has certain functions available with it. So piggy bank concept. And if we talk about word count program using pig, we have seen that it reduces the number of lines of code. Okay, talking about the pig part 2, so there's a use case that will be making a UDF, and out of that will be processing the weblogs using pig. Okay, and designing the pig script. Functions in pig, we have discussed these functions: average, concat, count, max, min, size, tokenize, sum, and some other user defined functions in pig. And another a very small use case discussed about data correction using UTFs. Alright, now talking about Hive part 1. So what Hive is, what is HQL, and why Hive when pig is already there. Okay, Hive versus pig, when was Hive introduced, so brief history of Hive, right? And then you have features of Hive, what all units, data units are present in Hive, what is Hive architecture, different meta stores available, that is embedded meta store, local meta store, and remote meta stores. Then you have Hive data types, collection data types, file formats in Hive, starting a Hive shell. And talking about Hive part 2, SQL database commands, how do we create a database and how do we list all databases, right? So how do we insert output into another table, output into HDFS, and output into local file system. So all this we have covered here. Partitioning and bucketing in Hive, joins and serialization formats. So we also talked about GUI of graphical user interface of Hive, which is Hue, and here in our case we also talked about the beeswax. Okay, use case, we have discussed processing stocks data to calculate covariance and deciding whether to go for a combination of stocks or not. Okay, so this was a use case, important use case discussed using Hive. Then we have Hive UDFs and analyzing news data using the user defined functions. So different use cases are covered, okay, for each and everything. HBase, what are NoSQL databases, what are types of NoSQL databases, technology landscape, what are limitations of Hadoop, what is an HBase, why do we require HBase, and difference between HDFS and HBase, very important. HBase architecture, you talked about master, region servers, and regions, region server components, logical architecture, storage in HBase, HBase shell commands, table management commands, data manipulation commands. We also saw data coordinates, multiple map structure, Java client APIs, how do we create a table, list table, and disable a table using a Java API, alter the table, delete a column family, and creating and saving the data to HBase. We also saw the filters, and this is an important concept, bulk loading into HBase and into using built-in TSV bulk loader. Okay, talking about SQOOP. So why SQOOP is required? It is SQL to Hadoop basically. SQOOP stands for SQL to Hadoop. Wow, what is it and how does that work? SQOOP import and SQOOP export. Okay, so controlling parallelism, an important concept. Okay, direct mode of importing data, staging table, which is an auxiliary table, okay, which helps you completely transfer the data. Incremental imports, another important concept in SQOOP. Insert and updates in SQOOP, importing data into Hive, HBase, import all tables, SQOOP export jobs, save jobs in incremental imports, and SQOOP eval functions. Okay, talking about FLUME, what is FLUME, why do we require FLUME, advantages of FLUME, and what is the architecture of FLUME, FLUME events, FLUME agents, what is source, channel, and async, an important concept. All the things are based inside FLUME on the basis of these three components: source, channel, and sync. Additional components of FLUME we'll be talking about, and data flow in the FLUME, multiplexing, working with FLUME, right? Configuration files, different sources and sinks and channels, and the combination of them, and different examples we have seen: sequence generator source examples, pooling directory source example. Alright, coming to the project part, we have covered two projects here. Processing web log data, we have generated the dummy logs using a script, okay, and loading the data into Hive, and then we were analyzing the DDoS attacks, and finally we were plotting that unintended users on the Power View in Microsoft Excel. Similarly, for the sentiment analysis, we are getting the live data tweets from Twitter about a launch of a movie, and loading the data into Hive, and assigning the polarity to each tweet and plotting that polarity onto our Power View. Okay, so this can help us know the reviews, and we can predict whether a movie will be a success or a failure. Okay, so this was about the topics that we'll be covering. Okay, so talking about big data and Hadoop here. So what is the future scenarios of big data and Hadoop? Okay, so big data and Hadoop training, yeah, we are offering this from Wisdom Trainings. So it will provide you a successful Hadoop developer course, and you will be able to get crack the interviews clearly. Okay, so big data, these days it's a buzzword across all the domains. So it has just come recently, and it's a lot in demand. So IT giants like Yahoo, Facebook, and Google, they are using big data platform, because as the data is increasing, we need people to analyze those data. There's a if you talk about the increase in the data over the past few years, it's very huge amount of data is getting generated from the social networks, from you've got different platforms, Facebook, Twitter. You have different social networking sites. So the data, whether it is structured or unstructured or a semi-structured data, is has kept on increasing to a large scale. Okay, so Hadoop and big data is in demand. Okay, so there are, if you learn Hadoop, you can become a data scientist, and you can help companies reduce the cost, increase profits, and improve products, retain customers, and identify new opportunities in the field of information technology, right? So in the data analysis as well. So participants apply data science methods to real world challenges in different industries, and ultimately prepare for data scientist roles in the fields. So you can become a pro in the course in the Hadoop, right? So this is an absolute beginner guide to Hadoop, and if you have the knowledge of Java and Unix, it will definitely help you a lot. Even though we have made the Java and Unix courses as well available with in the videos. Okay, so if you talk about the course objectives, you will master the concepts of HDFS and MapReduce framework. At the end of the course, you will be having all this stuff. Okay, so important: implement advanced usage and indexing, implement best practices for Hadoop development, big data analytics using PIG, Hive, HBase, how we process the images using the big data. Okay, these are a few of the things that you will be taking away after this course. A big data and Hadoop skill could mean the difference between having a dream career and getting left behind, right? So opt for a big data. It's time now. I have certain reasons to to tell you that you need to learn Hadoop. So if you talk about the career with Hadoop, there are many opportunities. You can become a Hadoop architecture, Hadoop developer, data scientist, or Hadoop administrator. Okay, so we're covering the Hadoop developer course here, right? So you need to have, if you talk about the Hadoop developer course, Hadoop developer possesses the knowledge about core Java, databases, and scripting languages. Good interpersonal skills are must for a developer to effectively communicate with different levels and customers to form big data operations. So we're talking about the Hadoop developer course here, but there are other opportunities available as well in the field of Hadoop and big data, that is Hadoop architecture, data scientists, and Hadoop administrators. There are increased number of Hadoop jobs. If you see here, these are the big names that are offering the big number of jobs. Okay, Amazon, eBay, Yahoo, these are Netflix, VMware, Cloudera, EMC, Microsoft. All are the big names that you can see here. Okay, so learning Hadoop to make big money with big data Hadoop jobs. So it's all about pursuing your career aspirations, right? Everybody needs a bunch of good bucks, good bucks, and good job. Okay, so if you talk about the percentage of total LinkedIn profiles mentioning Hadoop, you see this, these are the largest employers of Hadoop skills. The people from the Yahoo have the highest number of Hadoop keyword in their LinkedIn profiles. So you can see the list here. So more than 17,000 employees with Hadoop skill across these companies. So it's a huge number, and still it is growing because data is growing. They'll need people to analyze those data. So if we talk about the top Hadoop technology companies, so these are the companies, big names: Dell, AWS, that is Amazon Web Services, Datameter, Pivotal, Cloudera, Zetaset, and MapR Technologies. Okay, so you can have different fields or professionals in your big data analytics professionals, BI, that is business intelligence, project managers, testing professionals. Hadoop testing course is also available. Mainframe professionals, software developers, and architectures. Okay, so all these professionals need to learn the Hadoop and big data, because everyone needs to have an edge over their peers. So you can have an edge over the peer by learning Hadoop, okay, and big data technologies. If we talk about responsibilities, so similar to software developer, Hadoop developer is responsible for real coding or programming on Hadoop apps. However, being a part of Hadoop big data domain, job responsibilities are dependent on the industry's domain sector, wherein some of them will be applicable to you and some may not. Okay, so we are talking only about the Hadoop developer here. Okay, there are certain certifications available you can go opt for. These are very, there are three big names in the field of big data, that is Cloudera, Hortonworks, and HD Insight. So Cloudera certifications are available, Hortonworks certifications are available. You can go for these certifications once you become a pro in your Hadoop and big data. All right, so that's it for the the course offerings. You must take the course to have an edge over your peers. And Hadoop has a future. It's the future, I must say. It's a future here. The next thing that you'll be seeing in the market will be IoT and Hadoop and big data. So IoT is the Internet of Things, and big data, Hadoop, as it's a buzzword even. Okay, so DNA, the people with DNA, that is data analytics, are required to a large extent in the market. So you'll have a great value. Okay, so learn big data and Hadoop and have fun.